What is going on, everyone? It's Rebecca and with another video. In today's video, we got the NL predictions. Now, this is a hard one to do just because the NL is so competitive right now. And a lot of these teams are, I think, really good. They have made a lot of improvements on their squads, but this is just so hard. So let's get right into this video. So number 5, the obvious one, I have Washington. You know, they're obviously, I think, one of the worst teams in the league right now. Didn't really make any moves in the offseason. They're still having their rebuilding phase right now. Obviously, they still have some of those prospects down in the minor league system. Kind of waiting for those guys to come up. But yeah, Washington's kind of in the dud right now. So they're going to have to make, I think they have made a couple moves throughout the offseason. I'm not sure. I got to double check on that. But I don't think they're going to get over any of their teams in this division, though. So number 4, I have Miami. They have made some pretty good moves, I think. And I do think they're going to be a little bit better this year. I think their goal this year should be to get positive. Try to go with that 81 and 81 year. I think that's what they can do this year, to be honest. So we'll see if that happens. I do think they're going to be a pretty good team, though. Maybe a couple upsets here or there on some of these upper teams. But I do think they're going to be pretty good this season. So number 3, I have Philadelphia. Philly, obviously, incredible season last year. Got the runners up at the World Series. I have them as the number 5 seed in the postseason as well. I do think Philly can make a decent run again. That string of luck they had versus the Cardinals, and then that game was crazy. I want to be one of the best runs. If they were to win that one, that would have been insanely exciting. So I'm excited to see the Phillies back on the field again. And, they did lose a couple pieces. They obviously lost Shifley to the Rays, I'm pretty sure. So that's cool. That was tough. They kind of bounced back a little bit, though. But we'll see how they play. I mean, they still have one of the worst bullpens in the league. So they still got to get over that hump. But I do think they make the playoffs at the number 5 seed. And number 2, I have the Mets. This was really hard to call for me, and they have the number 4 seed going into the playoffs. But this was hard to me between the Braves and the Mets, because the Mets were so dominant last year, and they lost a ton of pieces over the offseason. They gained so many pieces. I mean, Cone and the Mets have been doing a great job keeping this team flowing. So I got to give props to Cone and his guys over there that he thinks he supports and everything like that. And the whole thing with the Correa situation, I mean, they hopped on that instantly, got the contract done over the night, which was kind of crazy, even though he didn't sign. So I really got to respect the Mets hustle, and, this is why they're in the playoffs. Do they win the division this year? I don't know. Like, it's so hard. I mean, last year was off tiebreakers. So, I mean, that was crazy. They both had 111 wins. So, I mean, this is just so hard to tell. This could go either way, I think, in my opinion. These teams are just so good. Like, it's just so hard to call it. But I think I'm going to have the Mets at 4th, even though they did get a lot better. I do think the Braves are just a little bit better. The first team in the East is the Braves. I have them as the number 2 seed in the postseason right now. The Braves, the young talent on this team is unmatched. Like, the amount of people they have locked up. I mean, I've talked about it a number of times with this Braves organization. The GM over there is literally a genius. Like, he gives the players what they think they're worth, and then he does it for like 5, 6, 7 years or whatever, so they're locked up as well. I mean, you can look at so many of these contracts that have really worked out them. Ozzie Albies' contract was a pretty good example of that. Harris's contract was a great example of that. So, and then they saved their money for the bigger players like Olsen, their new catcher. I think it was Sean Murphy, and then Austin Riley, obviously. So, great job over there. And obviously, Spencer Strider had another contract like that as well. So, I mean, the Braves organization, I think, is one of like the best organizations to run, just based off how they run their contracts and everything like that. So, I got to give props to them. I do think they get the first seed in their division. All the young talent on this squad is absolutely insane, and their farm system's looking pretty good. So I got to go the Braves number 1 in the division. All right, so moving over to the Central. The East was actually the same as last year, I just realized. So let's go over to the Central. A couple changes here. We'll go through them as we continue. Let's start off with the Reds. I think the Reds are going to get last this year. Once again, one of the worst teams in the league, according to last year's standings. I think they stay that way. The Reds, they had a couple good players. Like, the Reds with Bauer when he won his Cy Young in 2020 were really good. Obviously, they had Nick Castellanos over there. They still have a couple players like Tyler Stevenson, catcher, pretty good. I mean, they had Winker, and then they had Eugenio Suarez, a couple guys. They all went to Seattle, so kind of tough scenes for them. I mean, they should have a lot of prospects coming up. I know they're one of the teams that has a boatload of prospects, and we're excited to see those guys actually come up to the MLB. I think Jonathan India is a great example of that one. Obviously, I think that kid's really good for the Reds. So we'll see if there's any other young talent here. Obviously, you still got Joey Votto over there rocking. So shout out to Joey Votto for staying so loyal to the Reds. So yeah, I mean, I think they're not gonna have a good season this year, but I definitely can see the Reds in a couple years making a run. So I got them as last right now, but I think that team's gonna come up. At number 4, I have the Pirates. Now, the Pirates, they've actually made a lot of decent, good moves. I really got to give it to the Pirates this season, or this offseason. They've made a couple good moves. Obviously, Andrew McCutchen's back on the team. The fans are loving that decision. I think it's absolutely genius for the organization. They're going to make so much money off his name with all those ticket sales. So maybe there will be seats in October or in September when it's raining. So hopefully that happens, and we're not comparing it to the COVID games. But besides that, the team looks great. I think they've tried to put the most competitive roster they were able to put up, and I think the team's looking really good. I saw a couple of their projected lineups, and I think that team can compete. I think this team can compete. I think they definitely can get a good shot at 80 wins this season. I think that would be a good goal for this team. If they get that, I mean, this team could really buy some big free agents, in my opinion. So I think Pittsburgh's on the way up as well, and they're just going to start filling in. I think it's kind of like the Baltimore situation, where they're kind of just going to fill in the missing pieces this season if they do really good. So high hopes for the Pittsburgh team. We'll see how they do, though. So next we have the Milwaukee Brewers. So the Milwaukee Brewers are an interesting team. They obviously got William Contreras. I still don't even know how that trade happened, to be honest. That was a steal, by the way. So William Contreras, another one of those guys the Braves locked up, kind of smart. So he's on the Brewers now, so exciting to have him back. I think he'll be really good on that team. Young player, obviously. We'll see the brother matchup in their own division now a lot more. So that'll be interesting to see. But once again, this team's great pitching. We'll see if they can hit. Not sure, they didn't really make any moves, so it's kind of hard to really judge this team with other teams in their division making moves. So I have them at third because I don't think they're going to be the greatest team, but I think they're going to be competitive. So number 2, I got the Chicago Cubs. Obviously, I'm a Cubs fan, so I could weigh into this a little bit. But with just the moves the Cubs have made this season, and compared to their record last year, I mean, I could definitely see this team overhopping the Brewers, especially with the moves. I mean, you got Swanson, you got Cody Bellinger on the squad now. I mean, those two guys are to be really good for, the hitting core and everything like that. And I think their biggest problem is just the pitching. They've obviously been a hitter-focused team first. So they obviously accomplished that. I think this offseason they spent a ton of money on this squad. So, I think they're hoping for a good season. I think they can get second. I don't think they make a playoff spot, though. I think that's kind of crazy for them to make a playoff spot this season. But, I'm going to be rooting for them to make a playoff spot. But I just don't realistically see it happening, especially over some of these other teams. Like, it's hard to look at them, the teams in the East and not say all three of them are going to make the playoffs. Like, it's just hard to do that. Even in the West, we haven't talked about it yet. But even those teams over there are super competitive. So I think there'll be, like, a couple games, on the outside of the playoff run and everything like that. So I don't think the Cubs will make it, but I think they will get second place. Then topping the division, obviously, is the St. Louis Cardinals. They will be the third seed in the postseason, in my opinion. And I think the St. Louis Cardinals got a good shot to make it. Obviously got Contreras, really good pickup, I think, in my opinion. Still have no idea how the Cubs let him go. But I think that's a great pickup for them, and I think they're going to do really good things. Obviously, Yadier Molina retiring wasn't the best, but I think Contreras is a little bit better hitter than him, so I think that's a bonus for him. They obviously lose Pujols, which kind of sucks, but still got Wainwright there. Excited to see how he does. So if he performs good in the World Baseball Classic, he'll probably do good in St. Louis as well. But yeah, I think St. Louis is probably the best team in this division. Still kind of a weak division, I think. It's not. Both Central divisions are really weak this season, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams do, though. All right, over to the Wild West now. Let's start off in the 5th position, which obviously the Colorado Rockies. I obviously made a video about them a week ago on how they're a terrible organization, and yeah, they're not going to do good this year. KB hopefully plays the whole season this year, but it's just such a question mark on what this team's doing. I still have no idea if they want to win. Brandon Rogers I think is a decent player. I don't think he's the prospect they really wanted him to be, though. I think he was supposed to be like a Trevor Story, kind of prospect. And I don't think that's really worked out for him. So, got to be kind of hard for the Rockies to rebuild, I think. But yeah, I mean, they're going to have a way to go to try to rebuild that squad. Next, we got Arizona in 4th. I'm actually really excited for Arizona this season. I think this is one of the teams, they've made a lot of small moves this offseason. They got some really exciting prospects. I mean, Corbin is like one of my favorite prospects to watch nowadays. Just watching him last year run around the bases was like insane to watch. I mean, that guy was just stealing bags left and right of singles and doubles and triples. So, I don't know. I can't wait to watch him go around the bases again, and we'll see how this team performs. I think they'll definitely be better than Colorado. I don't think they're better than San Fran, though, who's my next team. So, I don't know. We'll see how Arizona does. But I'm definitely excited for them this season. I think they can do really good. So, my 3rd team is San Francisco. San Fran, I think, 81 and 81 last year, pretty good. They obviously signed a couple guys in the offseason. But I just don't think they're going to jump the other two teams in this division. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be one of the outer teams. I think they'd probably be, like, if I had to make a guess, they'd probably be the 7th team. which, you know, they're 6th to make the playoffs. So I think they're going to be the outskirt team this season, which is going to suck for them. But I do think they could definitely try to make a run. I don't think it's going to happen, though. We'll see how the Phillies perform, or San Diego could fall. You never know. But I just don't think it's going to happen for them. All right, so second we have San Diego with the 6th seed, obviously in the playoffs. So excited for them. I mean, they made a ton of changes this season. I mean, this team has improved a lot. The Xander Bogaerts signing, I think, was really good. I mean, that kid is so underrated. It's honestly crazy. And yeah, I mean, Tatis in the outfield, we'll see how that is. I mean, he originally played up there. He didn't look that terribly. I think he only dropped like a couple balls for not ever playing the outfield, so not even that bad for Tatis. But, you know, it's going to be interesting for him. Obviously, I think he's still suspended for 40 games, and then he'll come back. But it's going to be an exciting team, I think. We're going to have a lot of interesting question marks thinking about the San Diego roster, and we're going to see how they perform over the season. So I think they can be good, and I think they'll definitely make a playoff spot. So at number 1, I obviously have LA. I mean, LA is like literally the best NL team across the board for multiple seasons, you know, decades at this point. So, I mean, no questions asked. They're obviously won. They did lose a couple guys. Obviously, lost Turner to the Red Sox, which kind of sucked for them. And they lost a couple of their players as well. I can't remember. They did get JD Martinez, though, so we'll see how he performs. He looked pretty good in batting practice the other day. So, excited to see him and how he's going to do. But, yeah, I mean, the Dodgers are still stacked. I mean, you don't underestimate this team at all. I mean, they're still the Dodgers. They're still going to always put out a competitive roster, and they're always going to be hard to beat. So, definitely got the Dodgers at number 1. So yeah, that's my predictions for the NL. I think it's definitely the more competitive, side of the teams. These 15 teams are pretty good, except for like 3 of them. I think 3 of these teams are probably the worst in the league. But being the Nationals, the Reds, and Colorado, but everyone else I think is going to be pretty good this season. I mean, we're gonna have to see what's going on there. But I don't know. I think definitely it's going to be a bloodbath in the playoffs once again. So we'll wait and see how that one goes, and maybe we'll have another, maybe we'll have another run by one of these teams, which would be very exciting. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Obviously, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We're not predicting the playoffs yet just because it's so far away. Probably when it gets to like the All-Star break, I'll start predicting the playoffs, or we're going to revisit this concept and predict those playoffs as well. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Go check me out on my Twitter, my TikTok, and this YouTube channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everyone.